Shamrock Energy, episode 8. Well, we've had about like 14 hours, 16 hours to think about yesterday and what it means for Notre Dame, and what it means for this program, what it means for Marcus Freeman, what it means for ourselves. I think that we've all kind of taken a long look in the mirror at what that was and why it keeps happening to us. Well, I'll tell you this, guys. There's a lot that I want to get into on this one. It might take a minute for me to get to the point, but I think that you guys are going to understand where I'm coming from here, because there's a lot. Listen, yesterday was interesting. I made an interesting point about like my job and how it just was a shitty week and just things just didn't really go my way, and it was a shitty week at work for Marcus Freeman and that coaching staff too. And I thought about that this morning a little bit. I thought about some of the things that I mentioned, and in my space, and I won't get into details about like what my actual day job is. It's very commonplace for people to hop jobs, especially in my generation. That's just something that we do anyways. And Lou Holtz kind of said it on that Here Come the Irish documentary on Peacock. And it really, a lot of times when people do that, it just changes the address of your problems. You could be in a really, really difficult and challenging situation with work, and the knee-jerk reaction is, well, I'll just change the logo that I work for, or I'll just do a couple things a little bit differently here, or I'll do a couple things a little differently here and execute a little bit better, try a little harder. And I'm a little conflicted on that because I think that to a degree you have to be true to yourself for sure, but it's kind of more of a look in the mirror type moment where you have to self-audit, and you kind of have to look at yourself and say, what am I not doing that the best in the business are doing? And Marcus Freeman is confronted with that exact same question today. And he was confronted with it, frankly, as that game was going on. And there's a lot that has been made about Riley Leonard's performance yesterday, which I will never not acknowledge. I'm totally with you there. It was a really, really poor performance. It was one of the worst that I've seen in a long time, especially given the fact that that dude has more tools than the other people or quarterbacks that we've seen that have had performances like that. It was absolutely embarrassing for him and his family, and it was embarrassing for Notre Dame, and no one feels that pain more than Leonard, probably. And a lot of people are jumping to the conclusion that you need to make a change of quarterback. And to me, I think it goes much deeper than just your quarterback situation. This is a mindset thing, and I'm going to get to it, but this is something that you have to be real about with Marcus Freeman. Mike Ditka has a really good quote on this. 1's a mistake, 2's a trend, 3's a habit. Sam Hartman comes to Notre Dame, and it looks like he forgets how to throw the ball downfield. Tyler Buchner looks broken under Marcus Freeman and Tommy Rees. And Riley Leonard, now it's the same thing. Mike Denbrock has been successful everywhere he's gone. Everywhere he's gone, he has had success in moving the football down the field, scoring points when it matters, being multiple in his offensive approach, and Tommy Rees has shown success at that level too. And you're sitting there, and what is the habit? that's happening here and what is the common denominator? Well, I think that it's very obvious that it's Marcus Freeman and the mindset that he has around the offensive side of the football. And now he has to look himself in the mirror real freaking closely on what those changes look like. For starters, this is what I would do. I would trust, on both sides of the ball, I would trust my coordinators to do what I selected them for and paid them to do. You have two of the best coordinators in college football. Yesterday, don't change that for me at all. Even though it was a little bit of a bad day for Mike Denbrock, I think that what's happening here is that Marcus Freeman is afraid to let go of control, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And it feels as though there's this message that's being sent on that side of the ball that you need to protect the ball. Sure, fair enough. Ball control type offense. I want to be conservative. I don't want to just, pop off on big plays because that puts the ball at risk. And I think that's a massive mistake. And it was something I was in the back of my mind ignoring all offseason, that this was going to happen again. Here we are in the same exact spot. A Marcus Freeman coach team is afraid to make mistakes, and they're playing like it. Against an inferior opponent. It was really disheartening to watch that, because it could be understood against A&M. But against Northern Illinois, I don't think so. And now you're one of 5 teams that is without a passing touchdown. And you don't want to be on that list. The other teams that are on that are not good. Or, they're Air Force. So that's the first thing, is I'm going to let my coordinators do what I hired them to do. And if that means that we need to make a change at quarterback, then that's a decision that Mike Denbrock and Gino Guidugli are gonna have to make. You don't have a say in that right now, in my opinion. Even though you're the head coach, you need to let go of that control. You need to trust your guys. You need to trust your coaches and your coordinators, because they're really, really good. And they've shown that. They've proven that. They've got a longer track record than you do, especially on the offensive side of the football, in finding success. And I just have this funny inclination that he's a little bit too controlling when it comes to that. Now, if that means that they're going to make a change at quarterback, then that means that they're going to make a change at quarterback. I worry about Gino Guidugli's influence in that decision, but ultimately he should have a say. He's the quarterback coach. And the reason I have concerns about his influence in that decision is because he loves Steve Angeli. And I can't express enough how much I don't want Steve Angeli to be the starting quarterback at Notre Dame. He has limitations. I want Kenny, or I want CJ, or I want Riley Leonard to improve and just play how he's capable of playing. This guy, listen, Riley Leonard didn't just turn into a horrible quarterback overnight. That's not at all what this is. It's a mental thing. It's a mental thing. It really, really is. And I don't know how to fix that. I'm not the head coach, but I can tell you that if you're Marcus Freeman, and Brian Driscoll mentioned this on Irish Breakdown, and I want to give credit to that because it's a really good point. So if the first thing that you do when you go home at night or go into the coaching office or coach's office is we need to make a change at quarterback, then you're missing the point. Because then you're just a more handsome, charismatic, likable Brian Kelly. Because the reason that Brian Kelly was never successful here, and the reason that any coach that hasn't been successful here, is because they don't look in the mirror. They don't make the changes to themselves that are necessary. Marcus Freeman is holding this team back in certain instances, and this is one of them. You have to allow your offensive coordinator, your quarterback coach, a little bit more influence. And I also think it's weird, I'm contradicting myself with Dylan McCullough. Enough of this running back by committee bullshit. You've got 2 players and Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love, that one of them should be on the field at all times. And in certain instances, they should both be on the field at the same time. And we're just not seeing that. You got to be able to ride with the hot hand. You're making the same mistakes that you made last year. When Audric Estime had the hot hand against Ohio State, they fucking yank him out. And that's not okay. You're making the same mistakes, and that's troubling. You know, and it's just like we need to really, really look deep in the mirror. And I know that these sound like simple fixes, but they're the most difficult ones to make, because just like me and my job, it's not a couple tweaks here and there. It's a wholesale change on yourself. And you have to be able to look in the mirror and say, man, I know what I need to do, and it's high time that I did it. Marcus Freeman knows what he needs to do, at least I hope. He has got to let this offense go for once. Because in an effort to protect the football, in an effort to put your defenses in the best positions possible, you're actually putting your defense at risk. You're putting the ball at risk. And it's actually hurting your team. You're putting wins at risk now against teams that you should not lose to under any circumstances. If you're Notre Dame, you should never lose to Marshall. You should never lose to Stanford. That was that bad of a Stanford team. You shouldn't lose to Louisville like you did last year, or, Clemson. That can't happen. That is unacceptable. And you certainly can't lose to Northern Illinois. These are things that you simply can't allow to happen. And you're allowing it because your players are playing tight. Your players are playing like they don't want to be there. They're flat. They're slow. They're thinking too much. And you've got these athletes, and you're just strangleholding them into being safe and cautious. And that's not football. That's not football. Not at Notre Dame. You can't be successful doing that stuff. You have to let it hang out. And this goes even deeper. So be ready for this. Notre Dame Stadium means something to me, as I'm sure it does for you too. This program means the world to me. Even though it probably shouldn't, it does. It goes deeper than football for me. I remember I've gone to about 60 plus Notre Dame games at home. And anybody that hasn't been to Notre Dame Stadium, it's very hard to explain, but you could feel a couple things. You could feel the spirit of players and coaches that came before the team that you're about to watch. You feel your relatives there and the memories that they had. And you feel all the memories that you've had there. I remember the first game that I walked in on was 2006. It was Notre Dame versus North Carolina, and it was with my grandpa. And I'm going to let you in on my life a little bit. I went to just about every Notre Dame home game with my grandpa from 2010 all the way to about 2018, and then his health declined, and then I would go with my uncle, and then I moved. I remember the first time we walked in there, and my grandpa struggled with alcohol addiction, or alcoholism, or whatever you want to call it, and he quit. And this was the first game that he had been to that he was sober, probably in his lifetime, besides when he was a kid, and he brought me. I remember him crying. I remember that clearly. And I get emotional every time that I walk in that stadium because that means something to me. This is family to me. This isn't just a game. And when I mention, you feel the ghost, you feel the spirit, you feel all that lineage and history, and all of it is just there, and it's vibrating. It's vibrating constantly. It's a living, breathing entity. I cannot be convinced otherwise. And if you've ever been, you know what I mean. And if you haven't, I might be sounding like a crazy person, but I promise you it's real. And now I can speak to it a little bit more because I just went to Texas A&M. I went to College Station. I went to the toughest place to play in the world, or, in the country. And that's what it's self-proclaimed. And it's a really cool environment. It is loud as hell. They do a lot of really cool things at that stadium, but I got to tell you something. It doesn't hold a candle to Notre Dame, objectively. It doesn't. There's a special energy that's in the air in South Bend on 6 days out of the year. And when Notre Dame is really, really good, that community is better for it. It's deeper than football. That city is popping. That city is popping. And I haven't had an opportunity to see that on a regular and consistent basis. But I felt it in 2012. I remember, the goal line stand. There were so many cool moments that year. The lay game with Manti. It was just so loud. It was the loudest I'd heard that stadium up to that point. And I remember that goal line stand. It's raining, it's cold. It's been a shitty day all day, but we've waited, we've watched all for just this moment. Grown men were crying. I was crying. My grandpa was crying. These are memories that you literally can't let escape. They can't escape if they try. It'll probably be one of the last things I remember. If my mental ever goes away, I'll always remember that. I promise you. That's how special that place is to me. And I know that I'm not the only one that feels that way. And I saw some comments out there from just some people that I just, to be honest with you, their opinions are important, they're valuable, but I disagree. They're like, man, this got to be the easiest place to play in the country. Notre Dame fans are not going to cheer for you if you bring out a shit product like that. And they're definitely not going to cheer for you when they think that you're being fraudulent in the way that you're playing and the way that you're preparing, and that the things that you're saying aren't matching the product on the field. We're not going to cheer just for nothing, man. We're not going to play Mo Bamba and pretend to be hype and manufacture optimism and enthusiasm. That's not who we are. That's not South Bend. These people are no bullshit people. They work tough day jobs. They're blue collar. And I'll tell you something. They work their asses off just to be able to share a moment with their family or friends and have a respite from their regular everyday life. And it better be able to deliver on that. And if it doesn't, they're pissed off, and rightfully so. And I'm one of them. And so, you could look at all of that and you could say, well, that's a lot of pressure to put on a head coach and a lot of pressure to put on these players. And it's not. It's not an obligation to be in the position that you're in at Notre Dame. That is not what this is. You are privileged to be in this position. There are so many people in this entire country and across the globe that want to come to the place with a golden dome, the city on the fucking hill. That's what it is. That's what it is. And if you don't get that, and you don't understand that, then I'm not going to try and explain it to you. I just did my best. If you don't get it, that's fine. Step foot on campus and tell me you don't feel any different than what you did before, because you feel different. There's a piece of you that gets left behind and you leave with something a little bit more. It's deep in your soul. It has to come from here. It really, really does. And when I see the product that we've been seeing in these home games, it just isn't registering. It's pressure. It's uptight, hard work. It's an obligation. It's a day job. And that's not what it is. It's a privilege. Do it for those that can't. Do it for those that can't. Because there's a lot of people across the globe that want to be there in the position that you're in. And there's a lot of people that are in this country, and in some instances across the pond and up in Canada, that want to wear that golden helmet. And they didn't get an opportunity to. And when you come out and you play the way that you did, and you prepared as shitty as you did, and you look like you don't want to be there, that's a slap in the face. And fans shouldn't cheer for that. That has to end. That has to end. The pressure that is on this program, that's a fucking illusion. What it really is a privilege to be able to go to school at Notre Dame, to be able to play football for Notre Dame, to be able to have those connections. I couldn't get into Notre Dame. I wasn't a good enough athlete. I didn't have a 4.2 GPA, and I certainly didn't have a perfect SAT score, and I didn't know the right people to be able to get into that university. Some of that is ownership on me, I guess. I'll definitely take ownership of that. but I wanted to. I was born and raised in the backyard of Notre Dame, man. I was 10 minutes away my whole life. I miss it to this day. Every time I walk into that stadium, it means something to me. And it means something more to me and these fans than it seems to mean to the players. That has to change. That has to change. And I'll talk to you guys about it. It was like episode 2 or 3. And I'll talk about Notre Dame at home in those big moments. And there's this fucking energy and vibration that team had. They played with their souls. And this team is the opposite. With 3 years of Marcus Freeman and a decade plus of Brian Kelly, we just don't see that. It just looks like work. You could talk about execution and miscues and Riley Leonard footwork and, they're not calling the right plays. That's fine. That's good and well. And those are some things that need to change. I'll tell you what needs to change now. Is you need to let it all fucking hang out from here on out. Act like it matters for sure, but don't confuse it mattering with pressure and obligation and a chore. That's not it. You are in rarefied air being a student athlete at Notre Dame. You're doing something that almost no one could do. Against all odds, you're here. And the ghost of players and coaches past and present, the fans that have been there since the first fucking brick was laid by Knute Rockne, are there watching you, wanting you to do well, wanting you to perform, wanting you to give us your heart and soul, and you haven't. You've fallen short on that because you're scared. Because your head coach is scared. Because your coordinators now have to coach overprotective of the football. Because it's not fun. Because you just need to win. Do whatever you can to punch your ticket in the playoffs. Let's just get through this one. No. You have 12 opportunities this year. Marcus Freeman talks about it all the time. And all opportunities should be treated, cherished, with respect, because you don't know when your last opportunity is. You don't know. I didn't know when the last time I was going to walk into the stadium with my grandpa. But I'll tell you this much. I acted like every time that we went into that stadium was going to be the last time. And every time that Notre Dame's on the TV, I cheer for them with my heart and soul. Like it's the last time I'm ever going to be able to do it because it means something to me. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. I give it my all as a fan. I thought for sure that I was going to fall out of love with Notre Dame football as I grew older. And it's only gotten more. My love has only been strengthened. My respect for that university is only strengthened. And that campus and what it stands for at its core is important to me. But I got to tell you something. Notre Dame don't love you and I like we love them. And it shows. It shows in the lack of access that we get in practice. It shows in the lack of access that Notre Dame gives us. It's not a fan-friendly place. But we go back anyways. We're the best fucking fans in the country. And we get shat on. You didn't make enough noise. Give me something to cheer for the love of fuck. How about you play with your heart and soul, and I'll fucking give you my best. I will show up again and again and again, only to be disappointed, but I will show up. Because it's not just about this game, and it's not just about this season, it's about this city. It's about what it stands for. It's about the people that came before us. And this team doesn't get that, apparently. And it hasn't gotten it under Marcus Freeman. And it shows as a lack of pride in the little things. We can talk about all the changes that are needed. In my opinion, Mike Leach said it best. Odds are it's something simple. It is simple. The pressure's getting to you. You're looking at this the wrong way. Notre Dame is different. It's hard. It's hard to get up in the morning and go to class and then have to center that around your football schedule. It's hard being in a campus where, frankly, there ain't any honeys. Few and far in between. It's hard when you're watching some of your old teammates fucking not having to show up to class at Georgia. Some people that you graduated with in high school, they took the easy route. Where they're bowed down to. They have their own dorms. They don't have to interact with the student body. They're a celebrity. You're not that at Notre Dame. No siree. And when winter comes, it fucking sucks even more. Because winters in South Bend blow, and we all know it. But what makes you different is what makes you better. Start acting like it. That's all I'm asking for. And if Marcus Freeman can really understand that, then this team is going to be okay. This program is going to take the steps that are needed to do what they have to do for us to call this a success. Make it to the playoffs, win your first playoff game, make a fucking run. The talent is still there. The coaching staff is in place. Marcus Freeman has embraced South Bend, and for that, we will always be there for him. We will always appreciate Marcus Freeman for that. But there's one thing missing, and I think I know what it is. It's that he feels obligated to do those things. And it's not an obligation. Again, you are lucky. You are lucky to get to do those things. We will embrace you. You will be a legend if you win it all at Notre Dame. You are not just another person. You are special. You are a god if you win a title at Notre Dame. But the ones that won it all at Notre Dame, all of them, besides maybe Dan Devine, they understood this simple thing that I'm bringing up. And that is that this isn't a chore. This isn't a job. Don't get too caught up in that. And I got to do the same thing in my day job too. My job sometimes sucks. I told you guys that last night. Well, guess what? I'm going to take the same look in the mirror that Marcus Freeman is going to have to take in his mirror. And it's going to go something like this. I get to do what I do. I don't have to. I get to. Now, we both have, and everybody that's listening, all maybe 15 of you on this one, maybe more, we'll see. We all have an opportunity to elevate our game. Let's do it together. It's a special place. Start conducting yourself like it. The people that are watching you, the people that are watching over you, they're not there to put pressure on you. They're there to root you on. We want you to be great. They want us to be great. Do right by them and let it fucking hang out. From here on out. Put it on the table. We're Notre Dame. We're Notre Dame. And we're fucking lucky to be Notre Dame men and women and fans and fathers and grandpas, sons, daughters, players, students, coaches, ambassadors of the community. We're lucky that we get to do that. We're not obligated. We don't have to do that. We get to do that. And the difference in this team is that we're going to find out real quick if Notre Dame has to be great or gets to be great. Within the next 6 days, we're going to find out what Marcus Freeman and these young men and this coaching staff are made of. It's going to be because they figure that out right there. And that is a switch that you cannot toggle on and off. When it's on, and it stays there, regardless of the competition. Regardless of if it's Texas A&M, Northern Illinois, or freaking Georgia when you play them in the playoffs. It's the same damn thing. We get to do this. This is an opportunity. What will Notre Dame do with it?